I'm Melissa Turner, 39 years old, and I never thought my own brother could betray me like this. Last September, I walked into his condo for a family meeting about our parents' estate. For 5 years, I had poured hundreds of thousands of dollars into their lives, paying for their condo, their startup, their grand parties. But that day, my brother, pushed by his wife and her smug parents, looked me in the eye and said, "Melissa, you don't belong here. This isn't your place." He told me to leave in front of everyone as if I were some intruder. My chest sank, but I didn't argue. I grabbed my keys, walked out, and drove away. My hands trembled on the wheel. I wasn't only hurt, I was enraged. They thought they could humiliate me and keep living off my dime. No way. I'm not the kind of woman you push aside and expect to stay silent. What I did next flipped their polished little world upside down, and they had no one to blame but themselves. Stick around, because this story gets crazier, and you won't believe how I took back what was mine. If you're hooked on real family drama and betrayal, smash that subscribe button and share this video. Trust me, you'll want to hear what happened at their big company launch. It started when our parents died 3 years ago. Their estate was modest, just a small townhouse and a bit of savings, but it needed to be sorted out. My brother Andrew insisted we meet at his condo to discuss it. I thought it would be simple, some papers, signatures, maybe a short conversation. I didn't expect a setup. His condo looked like a showroom, granite counters, glass chandeliers, velvet chairs. I had funded most of it, yet I never rubbed it in his face. The meeting was on a Saturday afternoon in September. I wore jeans and a jacket, nothing fancy. Andrew greeted me at the door, smiling, but something felt off. His wife, Vanessa Clark, leaned against the kitchen island like she owned the place. Her parents, Thomas and Evelyn Clark, sat at the table sipping wine and giving me the kind of look you give someone who doesn't belong. The air was thick before I even sat down. Andrew began talking about the estate, saying we needed to handle it properly. I nodded, thinking we agreed. Then Vanessa cut in, her tone sharp but smooth. "Melissa, we're planning to sell the townhouse and invest the money into our company. It's the best move for the family." I raised an eyebrow. Their company. The one I'd been keeping alive for years. I asked what they meant by family when I was the one paying the bills. That's when Thomas cleared his throat. "Melissa, let's be real," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "You're not exactly equipped to manage these decisions. Your background doesn't match our vision." My stomach twisted. My background? I had built my shop from the ground up, worked 60-hour weeks, and kept their lives from collapsing. Evelyn chimed in, her smile polished but fake. "We're thinking long-term, dear. Andrew and Vanessa have influence, the right connections, a certain image to uphold. You're more, small town, aren't you, small town?" The word slapped me. I turned to Andrew, hoping for support. He looked down at the floor, fiddling with his watch. I clenched my fists, trying to stay calm. "I've paid for this condo," I said, my voice steady. "I've covered your business, your cars, your vacations. And now you tell me I don't belong?" Vanessa laughed, short and cruel. "Melissa, don't twist this into money talk. It's about vision. You're not refined enough for these conversations." Andrew finally spoke, his tone cold. "You're making this harder than it should be. We're trying to do this as a family, but you don't fit in with how we do things now. Maybe it's better if you leave." My own brother, the one I had sacrificed for, was dismissing me in front of strangers. Thomas smirked. Evelyn took another slow sip. Vanessa smiled like she had won. My chest burned, but I refused to cry. "You want me out? Fine. I'm leaving." Andrew didn't even glance up. "It's for the best." I walked to the door, my boots echoing against the polished floor. Every step was a knife in my back, but I kept my head high. Driving home, my knuckles turned white on the wheel. I wasn't just hurt, I was livid. For 5 years, I had carried their lives, and they tossed me aside like garbage. Andrew, my brother, had stood silent while his wife and her parents tore me down. They thought they could use me, humiliate me, and move on. They had no idea who they were dealing with. 3 nights after leaving Andrew's condo, I sat at my kitchen counter, the glow of my phone lighting the room. 4 years, I had sent $5,500 every month to cover their mortgage, plus another $900 for utilities, insurance, and whatever else they couldn't manage. Those payments had been automatic, draining my account like a silent thief. That night, I opened my banking app, scrolled to the transfers, and with one tap after another, I cancelled every single one. The chain around my neck snapped, and I could finally breathe. No more condo payments. No more power bills. No more Lifeline. I didn't call them. I didn't warn them. I wanted the bank notices to hit their mailbox like cold steel. 5 days later, my phone buzzed while I was elbow deep in a transmission at my auto shop. The screen flashed, Andrew. I almost ignored it, but curiosity won. I swiped. His voice was tighter than I'd ever heard. Melissa, we're in a bind, he said, trying for casual, failing miserably. The Portland launch is in December, our company's big moment. Investors, clients, media. We need $12,000 to cover the final touches, catering, equipment, promo materials. Just a loan. You've always been reliable. I froze, greasy wrench in hand. The nerve. You didn't need me at your so-called family meeting, Andrew. Why do you need me now? He stammered, then shifted. This is for Vanessa, for us. For family. That word again. Family. The same word they used to cut me out. My pulse hammered, but my voice was calm, sharp as glass. No. Manage without me. And I hung up. The satisfaction surged through me like fire. That single no was the first crack in their polished mask. Without my money, they'd cut corners. And Andrew's entire business depended on appearances. If that facade shattered at the wrong moment, so would his empire. But I wasn't finished. Oh no, I had something bigger in mind. That night, I dragged a box of old files onto my dining table. Receipts, bank slips, wire transfers. Years of evidence. Every payment I'd made, every bailout, every sacrifice documented in black and white. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, all tied to my name. I wasn't just collecting papers. I was building ammunition. I called my boyfriend, Jason Miller, steady, calm Jason. He showed up in his work boots, smelled of sawdust and steel. When he saw the piles, he shook his head. Melissa, this is insane. They've been bleeding you dry. I met his eyes, my voice steady. I'm done being silent. They think they erased me. I'm going to show everyone the truth. At their launch. In front of their investors. In front of Portland's elite. They won't see it coming. Jason didn't flinch. He just reached across the table, squeezed my hand, and said, I'm with you. All the way. His faith gave me strength. For the next 10 days, my life turned into a covert mission. Every night, I scanned receipts, digitized statements, saved old emails where Andrew thanked me for covering bills. Each file was a nail in their coffin. I backed everything up on a USB drive, kept copies in the cloud, and printed hard copies to slide into a slim black folder. By mid-November, I had a war chest of evidence, hundreds of files, each one proof that their so-called success had been built on my back. And when the launch came, I'd be ready. December came fast. The Portland Grand Hotel glowed with golden lights, the ballroom buzzing with investors in sharp suits, clients sipping champagne, and reporters waiting for headlines. It was the night Andrew and Vanessa had been bragging about for months, the launch of their company, Clark & Turner Realty. Their chance to shine, to prove themselves. And my chance to end the charade. I arrived in a simple navy blazer and slacks. No sparkle, no pretenses. Just me, and a slim folder tucked under my arm. Inside were the documents I had organized for weeks, bank statements, wire transfers, receipts. Proof that every dollar of their empire came from me. Jason had wanted to come, but I told him this was my fight. Tonight, I needed to face them alone. The lights dimmed. Andrew walked on stage in a tailored suit, smile polished, voice smooth as velvet. Clark & Turner Realty is about trust, vision, and building Portland's future, he declared, gesturing toward a slideshow of luxury homes. Vanessa stood beside him in a sleek black dress, her smile flawless. The Clarks sat in the front row, smug and confident. The crowd clapped politely, though I noticed the catering was thin, cheap appetizers, no open bar. My refusal to fund them had left its mark. Halfway through Andrew's speech, he opened the floor for questions. He expected praise, softball inquiries, admiration. Instead, I raised my hand. The room stilled. Andrew's eyes landed on me. His smile flickered, just for a second. Yes. Question in the back. I stood tall. My voice carried clear across the ballroom. You talk about trust, Andrew. But how do you explain building this company with someone else's money? The crowd murmured. Heads turned. Vanessa's smile shattered, her hand gripping Andrew's arm. Andrew tried to laugh it off. Melissa, this isn't the place. Oh, I think it's the perfect place, I cut in, opening my folder. I pulled out a statement, bold numbers staring back at him. For 5 years, I paid $5,500 every month for your mortgage, plus thousands more for your company's so-called startup. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, my dollars. Care to explain why your investors don't know that? The ballroom went silent. Investors glanced at each other. A man in a gray suit frowned. If she funded your operations, why isn't that in your disclosures? I stepped closer, holding another receipt high. Here. January 2020. $20,000 for your office lease. My name, not theirs. The whispers grew louder. Investors exchanged sharp looks. One woman asked, who's really behind this company? Andrew's mask cracked. Vanessa's face flushed crimson. Thomas Clark stood, furious. This is outrageous. She's just jealous. I locked eyes with him. Jealous? I built this empire, Thomas. And your family tried to erase me. Not anymore. I began handing out copies of the documents to people in the front row. They scanned them, gasping, whispering louder now. Reporters scribbled notes furiously. Vanessa's voice broke, shrill. Melissa, you offered to help us. No one forced you. I laughed, bitter and sharp. Offered? You begged me for years. I gave because I thought we were family. But family doesn't shut you out. Family doesn't tell you that you don't belong. The crowd wasn't buying their excuses anymore. A tall investor stood, his voice icy. If your finances relied on her, how do we trust you now? Andrew stumbled, words tumbling over each other. It was temporary, just family support. But no one listened. A few investors started heading for the exits. Others shook their heads in disgust. The Clarks tried one last time. Evelyn pleaded, this is private. Not for tonight. I raised my chin. No, Evelyn. It's about truth. And tonight, Portland sees it. I turned, walking toward the exit. Behind me, the ballroom erupted in chaos, investors demanding answers, reporters swarming, Andrew sweating under the lights, Vanessa clinging to his arm. Their perfect image had cracked wide open, and nothing could glue it back together. On my way out, a woman in a red dress, one of the investors, stopped me. She took my hand. You did the right thing. They can't hide anymore. I nodded, finally feeling the weight lift from my shoulders. For years, I had carried their world. Tonight, I reminded everyone who had truly built it. And as I stepped into the cold December night, one thought burned in my mind. This was only the beginning. A week later, I woke to a headline that made my stomach drop. Local woman sabotages family business out of jealousy. It was splashed across the Portland Daily Times, written by none other than Catherine Moore, their senior editor. The article twisted everything, painting me as a bitter outsider who crashed Andrew and Vanessa's launch out of spite. The quotes sliced like knives. Melissa was never part of our business, Vanessa claimed. She exaggerated her role in our finances, Andrew added, pretending calm. Every word erased years of sacrifice, years of bills I had covered, nights I had stayed up wiring money just to keep their dream alive. By noon, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Strangers on social media called me greedy, pathetic, even a homewrecker. Anonymous reviews tanked my auto shop's rating overnight. Longtime clients cancelled appointments. Portland's tight-knit community was turning against me, and it hit like a punch to the gut. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the newspaper, my hands trembling. Andrew and Vanessa weren't just dodging the truth, they were trying to destroy me. Jason rushed over the second I called him. He read the article, his jaw tightening. "They're scared," he said flatly, tossing the paper aside. "This is their way of hitting back, because you showed everyone who they really are." He was right, but it didn't soften the blow. My reputation, something I had spent years building in Portland, was unraveling because of their lies. "I can't let this stand," I told him, my voice breaking. "I have to clear my name." That afternoon, I reached out to Emily Harris, a freelance journalist I'd met at a local business mixer. She had a reputation for digging where others wouldn't, for chasing the truth when big outlets wouldn't touch it. Emily agreed to meet me at a coffee shop downtown. I arrived with my black folder, stuffed with documents, bank statements, receipts, wire transfers, even old emails. Sliding them across the table, I met her eyes. "This is the real story," I said firmly. "Every payment, every bailout. They can lie, but they can't erase the numbers." Emily's brows shot up as she flipped through the pages. "This is huge. Why didn't you go public sooner?" I swallowed hard. "Because I thought it was family. I thought helping them meant something. I didn't think they'd throw me away." She closed the folder carefully. "Then let's tell the story the right way. But first, I had unfinished business." That evening, I drafted a letter to Catherine Moore at the Portland Daily Times. My words were sharp, professional, unshakable. "Your article is based on false claims. I have evidence proving I funded Clark and Turner Realty and their personal expenses for years. I demand a retraction and the opportunity to present my side." I attached scanned documents, mortgage payments, utilities, startup costs. Everything that tied me to their so-called empire. The reply came the next morning. Cold. Curt. Refusing to retract. Offering, instead, a follow-up article if I could provide more proof. It felt like a trap. But I wasn't backing down. I sent more records. Emails where Andrew thanked me for covering their bills. Screenshots of transfers labeled business funds. Every piece of ammunition I had. Meanwhile, Emily was working fast. She pitched the story to the Northwest Journal, an independent paper known for its fearless reporting. "We'll tell it all," she promised. "Every lie they spun, every truth you can prove. Portland deserves to see this." But as we planned, the backlash worsened. Fake reviews piled onto my shop. Clients whispered that I was unstable, out to ruin a good family. A former customer stopped by just to sneer, "Jealousy doesn't look good on you." Each insult hit deep, but Jason kept me steady. One night, as I broke down on the couch, he pulled me close. "You're stronger than this, Mel. They can't bury the truth forever. Not with everything you've got." His words became my anchor. And as Emily and I pieced together the article, I knew one thing. Andrew and Vanessa had declared war. But they had no idea how far I was willing to go to win. On December 15th, the Northwest Journal published Emily's article. The headlines stretched across the page. "The truth behind Clark and Turner Realty, a sister's sacrifice." It hit Portland like wildfire. Emily laid it out piece by piece. The monthly transfers, the thousands in startup costs, the personal bills I had covered, the emails where Andrew thanked me for paying what he couldn't. Every fact was documented. Every number undeniable. Social media lit up within hours. People shared the article, furious at Andrew and Vanessa's deception. They used her and then trashed her. "That's low," one commenter wrote. "Family doesn't do this. She deserves justice," another added. For the first time in weeks, the tide shifted. At my auto shop, a few customers who had cancelled appointments quietly returned. One older man handed me a coffee, muttering, "Didn't believe the rumors. Glad you stood your ground." Another left a note under my door that read, "You showed them what integrity looks like." It wasn't a full recovery, small towns held grudges, but it was a start. The Portland Daily Times didn't retract Catherine's hit piece, but they scrambled. A week later, they printed a half-hearted follow-up, New evidence suggests Melissa Turner played a significant role in Clark & Turner's finances. No apology, no accountability. Just a desperate attempt to save face. But it didn't matter. The damage was done, this time, not to me. Investors who had lingered after the launch pulled out completely. Whispers spread that Andrew was struggling to secure clients. Their empire, once polished and untouchable, now looked rotten to its core. When I met Emily for lunch to thank her, I handed her a gift card for her favorite bookstore. She smiled, shaking her head. "You gave me a story worth telling. Portland needed to know." Her words warmed me. For the first time since the nightmare began, I felt pride instead of shame. Jason and I celebrated that night with pizza on my couch. He raised a slice like a toast. "To the woman who doesn't back down." I laughed, my first real laugh in weeks. But deep inside, I knew Andrew and Vanessa weren't finished. They'd lost investors, lost credibility, but people like them didn't surrender quietly. Whatever their next move was, I was ready. By February, Clark & Turner Realty was finished. The investors were gone, their clients evaporated, and whispers of fraud circled through Portland's business scene like wildfire. What had once been Andrew and Vanessa's dream collapsed into bankruptcy court filings and late-night arguments behind closed doors. I heard from a mutual acquaintance that they'd been forced to sell their condo, the one I had bankrolled for years, at a painful loss just to cover mounting debts. By March, they had packed their things and left Portland quietly, chasing a fresh start in some other city. I didn't feel joy at their downfall. But I didn't feel pity either. They had made their choices, and now they were living with the cost. Thomas and Evelyn Clark faded into the background. Evelyn mailed me a short letter a week after Emily's article ran. "We didn't realize how much you did for them. We're sorry for not stepping in sooner." I folded the note, placed it in a drawer, and never replied. Some bridges don't need rebuilding. As for Catherine Moore and the Portland Daily Times, the public backlash was swift. Readers flooded their inbox, demanding accountability for the misleading article. By January, Catherine had published a stiff editorial. "We regret any inaccuracies in our coverage of Clark & Turner Realty and Melissa Turner's role." It wasn't the full apology I wanted, but it was enough to close that chapter. And life slowly began to heal. 4 months after Emily's article hit, I stood in a wildflower field just outside Portland, sunlight warming my shoulders. The scent of honeysuckle drifted in the air as I walked toward a wooden arch draped in daisies. Jason Miller, my anchor through every storm, waited for me there. His smile was steady, his vows simple. "You're the strongest person I know. And I'll stand by you always." Our friends, loyal customers, and neighbors filled the folding chairs, clapping and cheering. My white dress was plain, flowing, nothing like the flashy gowns Vanessa used to flaunt. And yet I had never felt more radiant. When Jason kissed me, the crowd erupted. For the first time in years, I felt whole. That night, we danced under string lights while a local band played soft bluegrass. My employees raised glasses in a toast. One of them, a gruff mechanic named Tom, shouted, "To Melissa, who never backs down." Laughter rang out, warm and true. As the music faded and Jason and I sat together watching the sunset, my thoughts drifted to Andrew. I didn't hate him. Not anymore. Hate takes energy, and I had better places to spend mine. He had chosen lies over loyalty, image over truth. And in the end, it had cost him everything: his business, his home, his place in this town. I had given so much, thinking it would bind us closer. But I learned that family isn't about what you give. It's about respect. And I finally respected myself enough to walk away. Standing tall had cost me a brother. But it gave me something greater: my own strength, my own worth, my own future. And that was a trade I'd make 1,000 times over.